So, why is it taking you 20 years to release Six Acts in its current form? What about it has evolved and changed that it took so long for you to be comfortable releasing it now?
That's like a quadruple-barreled question. Okay. I'm going to start by telling a story. When I was 11, 12, 13, and I was just at that age where I was going out of elementary school and going into junior high, I lived in a neighborhood where the neighborhood was fairly close. As a matter of fact, everybody knew everybody, about 6 or 7 houses down and another 6 or 7 houses over, and everybody just kind of hung around with each other. Kids played with each other's kids. There was a bit of a discrepancy in age. There was sort of one bubble that was when I was really little, they were in their teens. And so by the time I was going into their teens, they were in their 20s. So there was about 2 different kinds of bubbles. And I was one of these kids that my parents would kind of joke that I was 13 going on 30. I liked to hang around with the parents more than I liked hanging around with the kids. And I was a square, and I was, whatever label, I don't know what labels they use now, but, I wasn't that much of a bookworm. And I wasn't incredibly smart, but I was kind of like, I did do well in school, but I had to work really hard. It didn't come easy for me. I had to work really hard for it. There was a lady in the neighborhood who, I don't want to say she took me under her wing, because I have amazing parents. They're like my best champions on the face of the planet, and I don't want to make it sound like I was a latchkey kid, because I wasn't. I really, really wasn't. But there was this lady that was university, she'd gone to university, she was really intelligent, and she kind of took me under her wing. Like, I'd go over and I'd have a cup of tea with her, and we'd have conversation. And as an adult, looking back on that period, she was technically my first mentor. And there are things about her that I have since learned that I suspect, I don't know for sure, but I suspect that she was a member of a group of ladies that she herself may have been mentored by a Mason, okay, and I don't want to get into all the kinds of things that could mean, and what does that mean, and who am I, and I'm just your regular Joe Blow girl off of the street. I don't have any connections to any of those kinds of groups, other than the possible, and I say possible in retroactive, exposure that I would have had to this woman when I was young. But she told me 4 things. She said, no matter what I do, no matter where I go in my life, no matter what I create, no matter what, there are only 4 things that I need to know, and 4 things only. And they were in the form of questions or things that I was to think about. The first one was, who am I listening to? So who am I listening to? And is the person that I'm listening to, do they have what I want? The second thing was, am I being coachable? Am I being coachable? Now, I've since heard this is phrased as, are you being teachable? But it's like, how much am I willing to learn? How much am I willing to, I don't want to say give up, but how much am I willing to give up to learn what I really, really want to learn? And how much am I willing to change? And that was sort of all tied up in that second point. The third point was, along the lines of, where am I right now? Where am I right now? What am I thinking right now? And am I feeling good about it? First of all, am I thinking? Legitimate question. Am I truly thinking, or am I just kind of in autopilot mode and just sort of randomly receiving information? Or am I genuinely allowing myself to think about it? And how am I feeling about it? That was the question, was how are you feeling about it? The premise being that if I'm not feeling that it's right, or if it's not ringing right, or whatever, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It just means that it's not right for me, or maybe it is right for me, maybe the timing's not right, but just to question that. And then the fourth thing was around, and at the time I learned it as the whole idea of always remember that there's a whole bunch of stuff that I don't know. And that I don't know what I don't know yet. I've since come to learn that that's the 4 stages that I've touched on, which is unconscious competence, okay? Sorry, I'm not getting that right. It's unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and then unconscious competence. I've now learned that language, but of course, she's not going to give that to a 11, 12, or 13-year-old. So, and I'm probably twisting things a little bit because it's been, 30 years, right? But those were the 4 key things. The reason that I bring this up is that very, very first one, which was, who are you listening to? For the longest time, I would look at myself in the mirror and I would go, I wouldn't even listen to me. Plain and simple, I wouldn't even listen to me. Because I didn't perceive that I had achieved anything of any kind of significance. And why would anybody else listen to me if I wouldn't even listen to me?